feel like it might be a replay of last week, pretty much, where it starts slow and then
going to start slowly, quietly, and then boom.
Yes.
Like that.
Hey, Elena. If you have any questions, or you or Jill have any questions, I'll put the link in chat for you guys. Hey, Jill. I did, yeah. No worries, Jill. Feel free to join and we can go through it. I can see you're in. I'll wait for Ellen to join, and then there we go. Cool. Hello again, folks.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we? All good?
Good. Are you sick of us yet?
Never.
We're getting there. We're learning.
It's good. Week on week we enjoy it.
Okay, so here is our like I'm still building out all these admin screens, right? And so this is like our filters for this data, right? So when you can see the status is listed here. And then if I go in and pick active, it's just filtering on active or inactive, right? And so I'm trying to make it so that this link does the same thing as this here. Like I can't get this component to affect this component. Does that make sense? And so I have the variables over here, so you can see the selected index here. That's sort of making this filter.
Mm-hmm. And so on the component where you select at the moment, so you select the status, would you mind going into that one? Yeah, that one, please.
Okay. So, and this is I might have to open up our design system, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, let me go over there. Should have done that. So this is this guy.
Super. And so when it comes to resetting the selection in here, how are you doing that at the moment?
So I'm just calling it, let's see. Must be, I can't remember. It must be here.
Okay.
So I'm just literally resetting this variable.
So what would probably be good then is, instead of doing this in its own isolated workflow on the element, if on the component itself you were to create a workflow, so in the first tab of the components on the right hand side, I'm not too sure exactly what to best call it, but where you actually on the component tab here. Yes. So if you were to add a workflow inside of here, where you reset the filter variable.
Okay. And then it's
you just the exact same thing. So you would just have a reset.
So I should go over here, right? Go back over here. This one. I'm just going to copy this.
Exactly, yeah. And what you can do now is, on the right-hand side of, sorry, if you just go back into the workflow. on the
oops.
component.
No, here.
Yes, this one. On the right-hand side now, you have two toggles, one that allows execution from the outside and one that allows execution from drop zone. Exactly, yeah. I think you've got the idea. So you could toggle the outside one to on, and now if you publish this, and then you go into your actual live project, you should be able to on-click of that reset all links text, trigger this on the component.
Okay. So now if I go in here, I should be able to see that.
Yes, there'll be an
Okay.
execute component action to select here. The one beneath, yep.
Oh, I keep forgetting about this one.
So now if you choose that component, you should have access to that workflow. Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing.
So
okay, I don't know why I couldn't remember how to do any of that.
No worries. Give it a test just to make sure that it works first.
Okay. Yeah.
Super.
Oh my gosh,
okay.
Amazing. Okay, now I have the example. Awesome. I have more questions, but I feel like you probably want to talk to someone
We'll do one more, I think. We can do one more. Yeah.
Okay. So this is more like a strategy type question. So
okay.
In here, let's see, that one. So when I'm here in this is the form, right? And then I have this guy here, which is like a multi-select, but you can also add your own.
Yeah.
Right? And then when I go into the update workflow, so let me just go over there, here, or create, let's say, like this is the value that's coming through.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like these two came from the database and this one is the one that was typed in.
Right. Yeah.
So like, I feel like this is more of a question for Xano. Is that right? Or is there a different strategy that I should be sort of doing?
What is it what is it you're ultimately asking? Is it asking after this, I guess you're trying to save it to the database and you're wondering how exactly that would work, or?
Yeah, exactly. So 1 and 2 are already in a cross table or reference table in Xano. And this one, I would want to go into that reference table and then add the ID into, this reference. But it can, like, do you feel like this should, I mean, my gut is that I should deal with this on the Xano side.
It's still so there's a couple of different ways you could do it, and it's somewhat scenario specific. So one way you could do it, for example, is whenever someone creates that thing, so in this case Leavesworth, you could instantly make a call to Xano that would create whatever this thing is in whatever applicable table, and then add that kind of value in here.
Okay, so how would I do that though? Like, is there something to catch when this is added?
Hopefully we have a trigger on it. So on the input itself, I guess it's inside of a component.
Oh, so
but there should be
here, right?
Yes, there should be a workflow on the select itself for when there's a change.
Okay. So it's this one, edit. I'm sorry, can you just like get me a little further down?
Yeah, so if you go into the workflow menu.
Here?
And then, so you already have one set up for on change. So whenever something is added or deleted here, this will fire. And so then inside of here, you could have logic to detect whether or not it's a new addition. So I guess in theory, you could have something as simple as, was it text added or was it a number added? That isn't perfect because, someone could add a number, I guess, in the creation, but you need some kind of logic to detect whether or not it's an existing value in your database. If it isn't, it could add it to the database. and then change what was input to be that relation, so the number of the ID of whatever it might be. That's one way you could do it. Or you could actually just have it the way you have it now, where it's the IDs and then the text values. And whenever you send that to Xano, just have some kind of logic that separates them. So maybe it's on the Xano side where you separate what's existing and what isn't, and then you create the ones that aren't existing in the database. You could do it. There's a couple of different ways you could do it, but hopefully that gives you something to go off.
Okay. What would you do?
It's a good question. I think probably just separate them on the Xano side. So yeah, you could, I guess you could do it in, you could do the separation on WeWeb. So before you submit them, maybe you have some kind of logic that knows what's existing and what isn't. And then how you send that to Xano means you don't have to have the separation logic in Xano, or you could have the logic inside of the Xano endpoint to take everything and then figure out what exists and what doesn't, and do whatever you need to with it.
Okay. I like that. Thank you.
Just Flo, what's your take on that?
It depends on how things are structured on Xano in your database, but yeah, both work. Meaning you can have, for example, two collections. One just to map your ideas with the text. But honestly, I think the best way is to have Xano returning only one collection with all the data. And if you need to create a new one here because the user is going to use a tag that does not exist, send IDs and the text like you did, and on your endpoint on the Xano side, you loop through them. You're going to have to loop through them, I think, when you're going to need to save them. It depends how your database is, but basically what you can do is to loop through them and check, like Matthew said. If you have at one point a text, so a string, just create it before saving it to the reference table. And I think it's easier like this, so you can just have one collection, one endpoint, and done.
Right, and then if they add something and it's misspelled and then they take it away, you're not like adding all this random stuff to your database.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Super. If you have any more questions, we can jump back in, but there's just a few questions in the chat that we'll go to first. But then, if you have more questions, we can pop back.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. You guys in a bit. Right. From the chat, we have a few questions. So we have two from Syndication Tracker. The first one is, I have a generic question to ask about approach, as I'm not sure what is the best way to do it. How do I create a demo mode so users can try out the app before diving in? What would be your take on this one, Flo? Create a demo mode.
I'm not sure I understand what is a demo mode.
I think he almost wants to create some kind of staging environment for live users, which I guess would all sit inside of the project itself. So you would have to have either two separate pages or a single page with different elements that have states nested into them. So one state for however you set up the logic to display live things to the user, or staging quote unquote things to the user, and then create a demo environment in that way. Because it wouldn't be something WeWeb specific. It'd be very much.
Wait, Matthew, it's Prolet. She's hidden.
Okay.
So can you jump in the call, Prolet, so you can explain a bit more? What do you mean by it?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I just created like a new YouTube account for my project, and then I realized that when I joined was with that. So when I sent the message, I was like, oh, okay, I wonder they'll figure it out. No, so I realized that actually my product has quite a lot of stuff you need to do before you can actually see the value. So one thing somebody suggested is like, hey, it would be good if you had like a demo mode where you can go and actually interact, or at the very least see stuff that are already entered. And I was not sure kind of what is the approach for that, because obviously for that demo stuff, I still need to communicate with the database because a lot of the logic is on the back end. So I don't know if or how people approach that of like, hey, how can I give them access to this like playground while at the same time not populating their account with just crap that they're never going to use. So I don't know how people do it.
So it depends. It depends the complexity, and every company has this issue. So sometimes you can have a hidden page in your application, like pages that nobody knows, like unlisted. You have no link to those pages, and so you can send those links to some users so they can try out this. If it's not, if you don't have some security issues, it's you can totally do that. If you need to secure the data and so on, then what you can do is to test some ideas on a new application with the same authentication. So it's really separated. So you can really decide who can access it with an authentication. And you add a role to your users or a join table where you can just decide who can access that. So it's another way to do it. A way in between is to have just the same application, but for this page, you can add just a little workflow to check if the user has the correct rights to access this page. And if it's on the same page, then you can have a conditional rendering for some section to those users who have this dedicated role for like a beta access or something like this.
Okay, so all of those sound like complicated, basically is what you're telling me. Because then I was thinking that it's not just going to be the front end, but obviously I'll have to probably do a lot of safeguards on the back end as well. And I'll have to determine if you can edit or not.
Another, yeah. Sometimes you need to have two dedicated applications when it's two linked. You duplicate the project, you try your ID on the other project, and you just test it with some users. And then you take that logic there and you put it into your production one. It's also another approach. It depends how deep things are linked. That's why it's hard to answer you properly. But this is another.
I think you would probably just need to set everything up around roles. So if a user has the role demo user, then on the front end, you would just conditionally render certain things. And then in the back end on Xano, because I think you're using Xano, right, Paulette?
Yeah, I'm using Xano.
Yeah, at the start of every endpoint, you would need to do a check to see what their role is. And then depending on what their role is, only allow them to take certain actions.
Well, I guess that the other thing that I can probably do, which is more like crappy, but probably faster, is probably just on the Xano side. Then if the user and the demo don't match, like basically just don't allow them to edit, and any edit action just returns you cannot edit error, and then show that. For the demo stuff. Because then I don't have to. I will return an error when the user role is demo yeah.
Yeah, I get you would I guess you could. Regardless of which way you go about it, you would just need to center it all around that role, I think, and then just restrict access based on the role.
Okay, so complicated. So maybe version 1. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll wait for the other people to
okay.
My other one. Unless you want to very quickly talk about notification and tell me how users integrate notifications in their apps.
So
it depends.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Flo.
No, go on, please.
I think it depends what you mean by notifications.
Things like, how like sometimes it will pop up and tell you some stuff in the little bubble that's kind of like list a bunch of things you need to take care of in a way.
Yeah. This is another one of those ones where it kind of depends how complex you want to get. So there's two ways you can do it at a broad level. Xano has real time, which is like a WebSocket. So if you wanted instant notifications to be pushed to your front end, you could utilize Xano's real time and set it up that way. But that's obviously a lot more complex than just doing it in a table. If you didn't care about having it pushed in real time, so you only wanted a notification to be displayed on page refresh, for example, like maybe someone receives a notification, but they won't. Yeah. In which case you could just have a table for the notifications, which is linked to a user. And then you could have an app workflow where on page load, you fetch that collection. And if a new notification exists, then you show some kind of toast to the user or some kind of alert.
Okay. Well, that's what it's called, toast. I like that.
Yes, yes. No, when I first realized that, I thought, what an odd name, like a toast, what? But no, we have a template for it. Yeah. It's now in the editor, it's now the dialogue. So you can use the dialogue to show a toast.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Also, one last thing. If you go to plugins, you can see a PWA plugin in there. And if you add this plugin, you're gonna have actions called notification, and it's a native notification for your browser. So this is something else. User needs to allow your application to push notification, but this is another way to do it. So you can also take a look.
Those are like the browser notifications.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Great. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
No worries. Super. Right, we shall switch back to Jill and Elena.
Okay, awesome.
Hi again.
Hi again. Okay, so wait, do I need to reshare my screen? No, you've got it.
No, we've got it.
So one thing that we noticed is like when we go to a page, like let me just go to this one. For some reason, this is showing on load. Is that like are we just doing something wrong here?
So this could be a couple of different things. Would you mind going into the component itself? I think you might need to do it in the design system. Okay. Yeah.
There, this guy. Edit.
And then I think if you could go into the actual select dropdown inside of here, the element. Yes, if you click on the hover dropdown, and then you go into the settings panel on, oh no, yeah, there you go. Init display is on. So if you toggle that to on, that means as soon as it loads, basically, then the dropdown will be open.
Okay. I figured it was something like that. So perfect. And since it's a component, it's just one spot. It's so great. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, my next thing is I have, shoot, I should have gone back there. If I go back over to these questions here, so in these questions, I've got this drop down here that is that the options are sort of manually entered, and they match like the enum in Xano, right?
Yeah.
I can show you Xano if you need to see that, but I promise they match exactly. But when I go to do the update on this guy, oops, oh, here, or just do the create, I can't get to the value. I can only get to the ID. Oops, this one. Like, how do I get to that? Here, do you want me to? Here, let me go. Let me choose one so we can see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, sure. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, now I'm going over here. This guy. Here. Here we go. This one.
So you have access to the ID and you want access to the value, is that right?
Yeah. Or I would set the ID as the value, but it won't let me make it anything but a number.
And what is it you're trying to do with this ID or value?
I'm trying to put it into Xano. As here, wait, let me pull up the thing. Journal. What is this? Journal. Wait, what is this? Journal question. This one. So this is my. So this guy.
Yeah.
Is like an enum.
I get you. Okay, this makes sense. And you want the enum value so that it corresponds. I get you. Okay. What you could then do is, without getting in the weeds of seeing like the select and how you've got certain things mapped, what you could potentially do is you could have a switch case. So if you go to the formulas here.
Right. So just so you know, I'm not in love with that, because then every time I add a new one, I have to come back in here and update the switch, right?
Yeah, you know, you're correct. So if you go to the select itself, where you had the options that you'd created. And then if you actually edit the component of this, so we go into the raw select element.
Over here.
Yeah.
I think this is it. Yep.
And then you click on the select element. Yep. And then if you go into the settings of this, so the sliders one, yep. And then so the value field is currently set to ID. So if you change that to value itself, it should then pass the value of the enum. But then you might have another problem where if you're using this in different places right now, and the logic is set up around expecting a certain value, this now means that every single instance of this component will now pass along a different value. So if you were to change this value field from the ID to the value, this would fix your current problem. But in the process, if you have any logic set up around this component, it might break that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to make a new component for this enum situation.
But what you could do on the formula side is you could create a global formula. So a switch case, as we said, it would be a switch, but it would be a global formula. So yes, every time you change the enums in Xano, you would have to edit the global formula, but it would be a one-time thing. Much like if you change the column in Xano, you'd only have to change it once. You just have to be aware that every time I change this column in Xano, I need to change this one formula, but that's it. It would operate across the entire project.
Okay, I think I get that.
Or can you just click on the workflow for this this element here? Yeah. Okay, so here I suppose you are just saving, returning. Yeah, can you open one object? Just need to check something. Yeah, so in here, instead of adding IDs, I think you can add also the value here. And so instead of having an array with just ID, you can have instead of just having ID in here, you can also have value, and so you are returning everything. So when you're gonna bind, I guess you should have everything you need. You can also have it here, if I understood.
Right, or I could have selected values as another variable. Maybe.
Yes, you can do that too. You can expose two variables or one
but
with
I don't
more.
see it in here. Why don't I see it in here? Because maybe I didn't put it in. Maybe it's not in. Okay, let me play around with that, and then I can always come back next week if I can't figure it out.
Selection. Yeah, you need to take a look to this, but basically you can, as you created a component, you can return anything you want. So multiple variables, or a variable with all the data, with an object with more data, basically. And then when you bind, you can select more information, I suppose. Oh, that's because you don't have value here. I think no ID. For this one, it's just ideas. Is it the same one?
No, this is the.
Yeah,
this
I
is
think.
what I made, but I think I just need to add selected values, right? As another.
Selected IDs, and below you've got options with ID and values. Can you repeat why you need two things here? Why you need selected IDs and then below in options? Why you have ID and value again? Just so I can.
I don't remember why I did it like that. I think this was one of the first things I did, and I just was kind of putting everything everywhere to try to get to it. So maybe this is wrong.
Because it, from what
I think this is so I can pass in the initial what's selected.
So it's an init value. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then you bind the select input, the init property, you bind it to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you've got ID and value. So normally you should be exposing that. You should expose an array of objects with ID and value, and then when you are going to use that component, you're going to have your ID and values.
Okay. Okay, so I just built it wrong. I mean, I think this is one of the first components I built, so I'm not really surprised.
But
so
otherwise, the global formula.
What's that?
But the global formula is also a nice approach to productize some things that you want to update only one time.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take that away. And then I have one more question, unless people are waiting. This is more of a strategy question a little bit, and it sort of relates to the last woman that you were talking to. Is so I'm starting to think about authentication for this whole site, right? For this whole site. And essentially, we're going to want to lock the whole thing down because this is like the administration area. Now, I watched a whole bunch of videos, and it appears that like I actually have to apply the authentication to each page individually. Is that right? Or can I do the whole site at once?
Now you need to do it for all your pages because you duplicated the public pages, so it comes with the configuration, I suppose. So yeah.
Okay,
for each one, then you need to make them private, indeed. Yeah.
So, and then we've got these user groups that are defined in WeWeb, but I feel like we're also going to have these defined in Xano, but there's no way to sort of marry that up, right? Like we're going to have a much more complicated user role, because our user role is going to be related to like an account ID, and we have to like do some logic around who has access to what. So will each site just have different groups, and then we'll somehow have to authenticate against the account? Why am I not able to wrap my head around this?
It depends what you need.
Right.
So what rules you need to access those pages? Usually user groups are nice. It can be seen as a role first. You can. The nice thing with groups is that you can add multiple roles. That's why we did that. So, but at first you can think about it as one role, functional role.
But is there? I guess maybe my question is there any way to like change the group or the role based on information returned by Xano?
In that case, I think if you really need a custom logic based on something that is in the what would you like to do? I mean, is it are you going to have some roles on your for your
Yeah.
user, or is
So
it
there's going to
going to be
be
dynamic? What would you?
so
What do
there
you?
so for example, say there's like 100 accounts in our platform,
Mhm.
and some specific user will have like access to this administration area, and then maybe access to 5 different accounts. One is read only, one is admin, one is, like they would have different roles based on what account it was. So we
Okay,
kind of need to have each user have a set of roles.
got
Like
it.
they would be a different role for each account, I guess.
Okay, so you won't be able to use that feature like this. So what you could do is to first make sure that all the pages are for authenticated users,
Okay.
and then you're gonna need, I think, a global workflow.
Okay.
And in this global workflow, you are going to check if the user can access this and or that with your role, with your rules. You can,
Okay. Yep.
and then if the user cannot access that page, you redirect it. You redirect the user to another one. So basically, you create a global workflow, and then in each pages, you need to you see in here you've got trigger page workflow,
Yeah.
and you execute the global workflow there. Okay.
So every page I'll trigger, like when
Yeah. In
this
here,
page.
yes. In
Yeah.
here, it's like check roles, something like this. Check
Okay.
role. And in here, you just execute a global workflow, because if one day you change the rule, you don't want to go through all your pages. Do you, do
Right.
you, do you know how to create a global workflow?
It's like from up here somewhere, right?
Not here.
No.
In here, it's to trigger a workflow. Or you can do it. No, you're absolutely right. This is a better option. In here, you can trigger an app workflow, and this is what you need. Sorry for this, I forgot about it.
That's
So yeah,
okay.
in here, this workflow will be triggered on every pages. So you just need to, in here, check roles. And if the user doesn't have the proper role, then you redirect to a specific page or to the login page, something like this.
Okay. Okay. Great. I'm glad I asked you that before I started doing a bunch of wrong stuff.
And you could, if you wanted to save a bit of time, Jill, it gets a bit more complex, but it could save you time in the long run. You mentioned having roles in different groups. In theory, if in your user table you did have a role column, and that was like an enum, and you gave each user a different role, you could in theory have something like a table called role groups, which then could be like one field as an array of potential roles. So you could have an array of, like, let's say there's a value of sales advisor, sales admin, etc. And then you could have logic on your front end to check, the specific group they're inside of based on their role in the user table, and then have logic around that. It gets more complex, but you could go that far, which then might save you more time in the long run if you want to set things up around groups as opposed to individual roles.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're going to have to do that. But this is helpful. And I'm well aware I also have to do all of this stuff on the Xano side too. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm, doing it in an efficient way. Okay, I think that, I guess I have like a couple more questions, but I'm happy to pass the mic.
We've got time, I think. There's just a few questions in chat that we'll jump to, but we should be back in a couple of minutes if you have any more questions.
Okay. So my other question.
Jill, sorry, we'll jump to a few questions in chat, and then we'll jump back to you, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, sorry.
No worries. We'll be back in a bit. Right, okay, there was a few questions in chat from Vic Rant. So the first was, this is one for you, I guess, Flo. Page-specific variables on the roadmap anytime soon?
Not yet, no. You have that little toggle that can filter all the variables that are used on the page. I don't know if you know that one. Sometimes it's a bit hidden. So you can use that for now, but indeed every variables are global in the application. And page variable are not coming soon, not because it's hard technically speaking, just because I'm afraid it could be confusing. That's why right now I'm not 100% convinced that it's a good idea. But
But if
Convince.
you haven't tried, if you haven't tried the toggle vic-rent to only show pages used in variables used on the current page is extremely useful. So it could, from a usage perspective, solve your problem if you haven't tried it yet. Super, right. I think that was pretty much it. Vikrant mentioned a bug related to double scroll bars, but if you've put in a ticket Vikrant, then the devs are just going through everything right now and they should be prioritizing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, right. And we shall jump back to Jill and Elena.
Awesome.
Hello again.
Hello again. Like a private help session here.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, so let's see. I guess I'm not really in the best spot here. Let me go over to pencil. So in our admin here, we are trying to set up this pagination. Okay, so we're using the paginator for this.
Yep.
And then we have this like show all feature that's kind of like trying to figure out if there's more records and we can do it that way. And then we've got this little thing going here. But what I'm noticing is that when I do these filters, right, it's not updating those variables for like the number of records.
Sorry, Jill, I'm not too sure exactly what you mean.
Okay, so like when I'm filtering this record set,
Yeah.
the
pagination is not updated, right?
yeah,
The footer of your table.
this pagination is still going off of the whole record set instead of the filtered record set. So then I was like, well, maybe I need to apply the filters at the collection level, but that also doesn't seem to be working. So I'm just looking to see like how people do this, how to use the paginator when you want to filter the table.
So can you show us how you apply those filters?
So one way to apply them is on this part, right? This guy. Oh, I guess I pulled them all off at this point because I was just trying to play around with it. But so we can apply it here, the filter.
So instead, apply them to the collection.
Here. So I think that is exactly what I started to do to see if I could get that to work. I think up here. Oh, maybe I don't have my example set up very well at this moment.
Normally, if you do it here, this should work because we should update the metadata there. So, or a better way, maybe. This is something you can explore because I guess you're gonna have more and more data here. Is to make the filter on the Xano side. So on this endpoint, I guess you can add an input on this endpoint to filter. See here, and you toggle the pagination on the Xano side. You see you will see in Xano you can in the output the response. If you click on that last one on the Xano side.
This one?
No, really on the Xano side, on the endpoint.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to Xano, you can enable pagination on the backend side. And so instead of returning an array like this, you are going to have more information, pagination information. And so then you can toggle off this pagination, and your paginator below will be automatically updated because it will be based on the metadata of the collection from Xano. So you can also do it like this.
Okay, is that what you would do?
Yes, I think I would do it like this.
Okay.
But
Okay.
see below, you've got also the data grid. And yeah.
Okay, I like that strategy.
You can try this. So add inputs to filter and sort, basically your filters. Add inputs into your endpoint to do it on the backend side. And enable pagination in the response of your endpoint. And so everything. Yeah, so sorry.
You would need also an input for the page number. Just to control which page you then select in Xano.
Okay.
I think we might have a documentation for this. Let me check.
And then I would kind of build my own paginator. Is that right? Or would the paginator work?
You could use that one. You would just need to set up the bindings correctly. So on the paginator element, there's different things you can bind, like the offset, the per page in the. If you turn on custom pagination on that toggle.
Here?
No, sorry, in the pencil icon. If you turn on custom yes, and then you can bind things here. And so basically whenever you turn on pagination in that Xano endpoint, you'll get returned certain pieces of information like the total number of records, the number of records, and the page that's been returned. And then you can bind it here, and then it will show like the correct numbers in this pagination element.
Okay, I feel like that's the only way to do it. Especially because I feel like we're going to have some tables with, I mean, hopefully thousands of records, but we'll see. Okay. Okay, Elle, I hope you're listening to this because I'm probably going to have to. I guess I can always watch the video, right?
Yes, there's did you manage to find something, Flo? If not, I'll have a quick look also.
Yeah, I sent you a video link because I cannot access the main chat, so I think you can send this.
Okay.
Cool, and I will put the link in the chat for you.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one more teeny tiny question, but I feel like I can always ask the community if there's someone else waiting.
We've got a few minutes. There's no one else just yet.
Okay, so I asked this question before. I'm going to ask it again. What is the best way to figure out what library and component an instance was created by?
I think so. If I think this is the same question you asked before, I don't think there is a way, right? So I think is this in relation to Flo? We had I think Jill asked the question, how do you know which component the library is from? Is that the same question, Jill, or is this?
Yeah, I just want to know that this was based off of what in the library, you know?
Yeah, we definitely need to add those information in the settings. This is in the pipe.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, there isn't a way.
Yeah.
Right now.
That's okay. I thought there was maybe some like crazy look up the UID and view the source and do all this business.
Usually not. Well, at least not I know of. Maybe Flo has hidden superpowers that I don't know about.
No.
No superpowers? Come on.
Because this could change, so that's why I don't want you to provide you this information, because it's
okay.
Every time I did it,
the secret.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll figure it out.
No, we will definitely add this information. We will definitely do that because it's really needed for component created within the application, but also for coded components that you can do with AI now. So this is important to add this information.
Okay. I guess if there's no one else here, I was wondering if you wanted to sort of walk through the new data grid. I feel like it's pretty limited, but maybe it's because I'm just not really understanding it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not figuring out how to put like actions into it.
Okay, let's do that because this is something. Yeah, we are iterating on the data grid, so new features are coming in the coming days for it. So
Okay.
please give me your feedback on this element because we are on it. So
this is it here, right?
yes.
So if I just drag this in, place it here, and then I'm just gonna go to the not fake data. Oh, I shouldn't have probably brought all that stuff in, but too late now.
That's fine.
This one.
Okay, perfect. So now you need to give it a unique ID, just on the right side, below, the second
Here?
prop. Yeah, below data. Below data.
Okay.
The second
Oh,
prop.
here.
Here, make sure that select the ID instead of this one. Perfect. Then you can click on generate columns. Okay. So
Okay, this is, oops. Oh, I didn't. What did I do? I was doing the wrong thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I do that.
Back up there.
I always do the same thing. So in here, you have your data grid. So basically, you wanted to create those 3 buttons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you cannot have 3 buttons in one column right now, but what you can do is to create 3 columns instead.
Okay, so add a column.
Add a column here.
And I'll just call this
And
edit or whatever.
you need. It's below. Header name. It's going to edit. Okay.
Actually, let's do an easy one. Let's just do the delete.
Okay, let's do the delete. So the type won't be auto, it will be action.
Action, okay.
Action here. You need to give it a name, action name and label. So delete. Okay. Okay, and so now you need to create a workflow.
Okay.
So first,
I feel like
you can take a look.
Grab it, right?
Yeah.
Oops.
No, not here. Now you can scroll to see the last column.
Like this is my workflow. I'm just gonna grab it.
Grab it. Perfect. Copy it. Now select your data grid and paste the workflow here.
Here. Okay. Oh, oops.
Yeah, you need to paste here. Okay, and so you see.
Oops. Can we go in here?
Back here? So in here you've got on action. You see that trigger?
Yeah.
So it's when you click on any column, action column. Mm-hmm. So for you need to add a split to branch. It's I don't remember the proper name. Can you add an action? So it's not the trigger. The trigger is really on action. And here. Just the first thing here, and it's now it's multi option splits. Yeah, this one. Okay, perfect. So can you click on the first one? The first action, really the bubble.
Oh, here, this.
Yeah, okay. Here. And here you're gonna have delete. So yeah.
So just type delete here.
Delete here. Yeah, you can tap. So without the capital letter, because in the column you define delete like this. Yeah, perfect. You can remove the 2 other one because you don't have them, or you can add them. Edit, and it was delete, edit, and C or something like this. I don't remember.
Oh, right, like activate or whatever.
Yeah. So this one would be edit or activate. Perfect. But before, you need to bind the condition at the top. You see at the top, you've got you need to bind that to the event. So can you click on the lightning icon? Yeah, this one. Can you open event really at the top? Yeah, and here you should have action name. Yeah, it's the first one. You need to update this
one?
Yeah, this one. Okay, so now can you drag and drop update page and refetch on the delete branch?
Do you want me to close this?
Yes, please. You can close this. So this is correct. And no, not everything. Can you go back to the workflow? Yeah. So it's not done yet. You see in here in the multi-option split.
Oh, this needs to come up there.
Yes, absolutely. And same for, oh, you can keep
This will
repeating.
stay. That can stay.
Okay. So can you delete the empty actions? Okay. And the other one just before. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So can you close this? And now if you click preview at the top and you scroll, you would see delete. And if you click on it, it will trigger the workflow. And if it didn't, can you go to the workflow so we can check what happened?
Oh, because like something's wrong because it's not setting the edit row.
Okay, but at least you saw how it's working. So if you go back to the workflow, you would see the.
But so I guess my question is, can we put an icon there instead? Or no, it doesn't work like that.
Not yet. It's a button.
Okay.
But basically, so right now it's really opinionated. So you have many props to style it, as you can see.
Yeah.
You can ask AI to style it. Really, it works like a charm. If you go to the AI tab.
This one.
Yes, this one. If you click
I guess
on it.
I'm worried more about like there's no way to put a component in there, right? Because right now, like these delete components kind of have this whole little workflow thingy going on.
Okay, and you'd like to put it here. Okay.
Yeah, like with the icon. It's fine if it doesn't, but that's my feedback is like I love that I can just like make things and put them in and then they sort of work. And
so you can add anything you like into this.
Yeah, this like sorting, so edit, like all of that is really nice. But the things that we do love about this is all of this business, right? Like this is amazing.
Yeah.
And the pagination and
everything comes with all this logic. Okay, we'll definitely think about having a custom cell where you can add any custom component. I need to try something.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm making your life difficult. But this is so great, right? Because we can just stick whatever we want in here and it kind of works. So, okay. Well, I feel like I've taken up a lot of time. I super appreciate all your help.
No worries at all. Glad we could be of service as always. Super. Right. Thanks ever so much, girls. We'll be here same time next week if there's any more questions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Right. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
And then finally, Flo, before we end it, we've got one last question from Vikrant in the chat. Is there a way to restrict publish/promote access for the devs in my team workspace? Say I just want the owner to be able to promote to production. So I guess it's restricting which users in the project can publish.
I'm sorry. No, it's not possible. You need to trust them for now.
But it's coming. At some point.
Yeah, at some point, yes, it's in the pipe, but not for the coming weeks for sure.
Super. Right. Thank you ever so much, everyone. As always, we'll be back here next Tuesday. But until then, we will catch you in the next one.
See you, everyone.